Today we are discussing the previous question paper, that is 2012 to 13, and the subject is food safety and quality. So coming to the first question, explain the growth curve of bacteria, discuss the factors affecting the growth of bacteria in the food. As this question paper, this question is already repeated in the last year, that is 2011 as well as 2013 to 14, which was discussed yesterday. So talking about this is a 10 marks question, and talking about the factors affecting the growth of bacteria. Factors, or you can say the conditions which are required for the growth of microorganisms. Those are food, acidic condition, time, temperature, oxygen and moisture. Food such as perishable, semi-perishable and non-perishable. Acidic condition, which helps in preserving the food. Then coming to time, do not keep the food for more than 4 hours at room temperature. Coming to the temperature, the food should not reach the danger zone temperature. Coming to oxygen, it can be aerobic, anaerobic and facultative anaerobe. And the moisture. Presence of moisture is responsible for the food spoilage. Now coming to the next in this is growth curve. The other name for the growth curve is growth phase, which consists of 4 phases such as lag phase, which is a first phase, log phase, the second phase, third phase is the stationary phase, and fourth is the death phase. So lag phase is the first phase where the bacteria enters and will get adjusted to the environment. Second phase, the bacteria multiplies, that is the log phase. The other name for the log phase is known as exponential phase. The third phase is stationary phase, where most of the bacteria get destroyed during the stationary phase. And the last phase is the death phase, where the most of the bacteria are killed. Now, for this question, which is 10 marks, you can write the growth curve or the growth phase with the help of the diagram, as well as explaining all these 4 phases, as well as factors affecting or factors required for the growth of microorganisms, where you have to explain all these things with the help of a diagram, which is a 10 marks question. Now coming to the second. Now here you have 2 questions which are almost similar in this paper, that is list and explain the various methods of food preservation and explain the basic principles of food preservation. Now these are 10 marks questions. So how to write up this? This is also a repeated question. Now talking about the preservation. Preservation helps in preserving the food for 1 year, because preservation depends on the type of food, whether it's a perishable, semi-perishable and non-perishable food. When you talk about different methods of preservation, there are a few methods such as aseptic method, then high temperature, low temperature, dehydration, preservation, as well as modification of pH, as well as irradiation. So as this is a 10 marks question, you are going to explain this with the help of explaining all the preservative methods. Like you're talking about high temperature or low temperature methods, you're going to explain high temperature, you're going to explain about sterilization, pasteurization, blanching methods, etc. So you're going to explain each preservative method in details. Now talk about the basic preservative. When you talk about the basic principles of preservation, you have to remember preservation helps in killing the microorganism, hindering the growth of microorganism, preserving the food for 1 year, as well as helps in transporting the food and making the food which is available off season also. So you're going to write about all these things in the preservation, which is also a very important and repeated question. Now coming to the third question, the second option. What is contamination? Explain the different source of contamination. Even this is also a very important repeated question. When I talk about contamination, when you talk about contamination, any foreign substance which falls into the food is said to be contamination. Contamination is of 3 types, that is biological, physical and chemical. Now what are the sources of contamination? Source of contamination can be through human beings, that is through hands, through clothes, as well as while talking, or it can be through pets, garbage, chemicals, etc. Next, question number 4. What is fermentation? Describe the different types of fermentation. Now talking about the fermentation, this is all a very important and repeated question. You have to first give the definition of fermentation, that is conversion of carbohydrate to alcohol as well as carbon dioxide by yeast as bacteria, or sometimes a combination of both is said to be preservation. It's said to be fermentation. When you talk about different kinds of fermentation, you can see fermentation can be a natural fermentation, a backsloping fermentation, and controlled fermentation. So now this is further classified in various products, that is fermentation in dairy products, fermentation in vegetables, fermentation in legumes, fermentation in cereals, beverages, fish, meat, and other fermented products. So as it is a 10 marks question, you need to write the definition of fermentation. Then you're going to write about natural backsloping and controlled fermentation, followed by fermentation in various food products such as dairy, vegetables, legumes, cereals, beverages, fish, meat, and other products. If you give two examples of two dairy products, two vegetables, then two legumes, two cereals, and two beverages, fish, meat, and two examples of other fermented products, that is enough for you to gain full 10 marks in your examination. Now, coming to the next question in fourth, the other option is foodborne diseases. Explain the different agents responsible for foodborne diseases. Now, talking about foodborne illness, the disease that is transmitted through food is known as foodborne illness. Usually, foodborne illness occurs by food infection as well as food poisoning. When you talk about food infection you find in bacteria, virus, and parasites. Now, talk about bacteria. You can give examples of two bacteria, that is Salmonella and Clostridium perfringens. So Salmonella found in chicken and egg, Clostridium perfringens found in the soil. Next, you're talking about the viruses, where you can give the example of two viruses like norovirus virus, hepatitis A virus. Then talk about the parasites. You can give two examples of parasite, that is trichinosis as well as teniasis. Now, talking about the food poisoning. Food poisoning, again, it is divided into bacteria, fungus, as well as chemicals. Talking about the bacteria, you can talk about botulinum, which is found in canned food products, as well as Staphylococcus aureus, which is found on human beings. Talk about the fungus, that is mycotoxins. Then chemicals, you can talk about various chemicals like DDT, as well as fungicides, herbicides, insecticides, etc. Now, coming to the fifth question. Write the benefits of HACCP to the society. HACCP, or as this is a very important repeated question in the previous papers also, HACCP, Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. So first you're going to start off with the definition of HACCP. It is an internationally recognized system which is used to ensure the manufacture of safe food products. Now, talking about the HACCP, we'll start off with the prerequisite programs. There are two prerequisite programs in HACCP. One is GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices. There are 3 GMPs, and SSOP, that is Sanitary Standards Operating Procedures. There are 8 SSOPs which we are going to explain in detail. Talking about the principles of HACCP, there are 7 principles of HACCP. One is hazard analysis. Identify which kind of hazard is present in the food, whether it's a biological, physical, or a chemical. Second is critical control point. Find out the solution for that hazard, that is, it can be a biological, physical, or a chemical. Third, limit. Find the solution within the limit. Let it be time, temperature, etc. It has to be maintained a limit. Coming to monitoring. Always check, monitor whether the solution or the solution or the critical control point is within the limit. If you find it is crossing out of the limit, you have to take the next one, that is corrective action. A proper corrective action has to be taken to maintain the limit. Then verify whether the corrective action that you have taken is according to the limit and did it reach the goal. And finally, record it in the documentation. So you're going to write about HACCP in detail, that is definition of HACCP, next prerequisite programs and principles of HACCP, which will help you to gain 5 marks or 10 marks for this question. Next, question number 6. Explain the various types of cleaning agents used in the food sector. So the main role of cleaning agent is to cleaning removal of dust and dirt that is visible to our eyes. Sanitization, reduction of number of microorganisms to safe levels. So cleaning is done by using different kinds of cleaning agents. So cleaning agent differs depending on the type of surfaces. So you have to check what is the cleaning agent which you are going to use, whether detergents or solvent cleaners or abrasive cleaners, or is it an acidic cleaners, which is a 5 marks question. Or the next option in question number 6 is, what are food additives? List the types of additives with the examples. So food additives, these are added into the food substance to increase the color, texture, flavor of the food. There are 16 different additives which are added in the food, such as sweeteners, preservatives, coloring agents, as well as antioxidants, etc. So, as this is a 5 marks question, write the definition of food additives, name all the 16 additives and explain any 5 additives with the help of the examples. Next, coming to question number 7. Explain the risk analysis with its component. What are the steps followed to identify the risk assessment in the food sector? So, this is a 5 marks question. So, when you talk about this, you have to make sure that what is a risk? Risk is an adverse effect on health. There are 3 kinds of risk, that is risk assessment, risk management, as well as risk communication. Risk assessment, like take an example of the latest happenings which is going on, that is analyze the risk. What is the risk which might take place? Identify the hazard, whether it's a biological, physical or a chemical. Next, you have to manage the risk. How can you manage the risk? By taking a preventive measures. Example, physical hazard can only be prevented. Once you find hair follicle or glass pieces into the food, you cannot take out those glass pieces. So it is better that we take a preventive measures. That is the reason we follow personal hygiene standards. The next one is risk communication. Communicating to everybody so that people who are working in a hotel industry are aware of the types of risks so that they take a proper precautions to prevent these things. Now this is a 5 marks question, and the last question in this unit, the last question in this paper, expand and write short notes on the following. Number 1, PFA, Prevention of Food Adulteration Act. FSSA, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. Next, MAP, Modified Atmospheric Packing. Next, GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices. So these questions carries 1 mark each. So this is the 50 marks question paper, and we have done all the 8 questions. I hope I'm clear with it. In case of any queries, you can always check with me on WhatsApp. Thank you so much.